The conversations and talking points surrounding Tyrese Maxey have gotten absolutely insane, and I am here to put a stop to it. As NBA rumor and trade season kicks off, there is plenty of talking points on what the best move is for the Sixers franchise, but I'm here to put an end to any conversations about moving on from Tyrese Maxey. This is a 25-year-old kid who the Sixers drafted with the 21st overall pick 5 seasons ago, and not only has he checked every single box from a character perspective, from a development perspective, from a talent perspective, but he has proved himself on every single level you could ask. Did we forget that this is the guy who went from being a 29% three-point shooter in college to top 5 in the NBA within 3 seasons in the league? Did we forget that this is the same Tyrese Maxey that averaged 30 points in the second round playoffs against the New York Knicks when Joel Embiid is on one knee and half a face? Did we forget that this is the dude that can run past any NBA player in the entire league, that he is one of one when it comes to pure burst? Did we forget who this guy is as a basketball player? Because it sure feels like it does here in Philadelphia. I'm here to break down why Maxey fits the exact timeline, regardless of what the future of the Sixers franchise is. That if it is the conversations on starting this rebuild of the franchise, he should be right at the forefront of it. If it is this conversation about going for it and attempting to win right now once again, he's ready for that moment, and I'm not sure what more evidence people need to see to believe that is the case. I'm going to break down exactly why this is with Tyrese Maxey. Now, before I get fully into it today, I do want to remind you guys, as always, to make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. Once again, at this point in time, only 31.5% of you guys watching these videos have subscribed to us here at Sixers Digest. We got plenty of exciting news to get into this offseason, and the rumors and reports are certainly heating up with the draft right around the corner, but I do want to talk a little bit about Tyrese Maxey today. Now, what stirred up this talking point here was obviously the Desmond Bane trade that did occur, and obviously it is trade season across the NBA, and we got our first big blockbuster trade, that it is the Memphis Grizzlies trading away Desmond Bane for the return of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and 1 first-round pick swap. Now, obviously, the prize of this return is the beginning of a little bit of a rebuild out there in Memphis. And obviously, they still have John Morant, still have Jaren Jackson Jr., but those draft picks are what made this attractive. And I think a lot of people's minds went to, if Desmond Bane is worth that, then what is Tyrese Maxey worth? And that is the exact thought process that I want to put an end to. Now, last season was a disaster for the Sixers team. There is no way around sugarcoating this. And for Tyrese Maxey specifically, we should keep in mind that this dude was playing with literal G Leaguers for most of the season, and I would still argue took some positive strides forward. Defensively, I think he was night and day better last year in a way that I do think changes the way we can project to him as a player. There is no doubt in my mind that Tyrese Maxey can be the worst defender on a championship contending team. I even think he is probably passable as like a second worst defender. He is no longer a guy that teams are going to have circled, bring a screen, get the switch, and attack. He's going to hold up in a lot of cases. I watched him take Jaylen Brown's cookies over and over last year in a matchup with the Celtics. I watched this man compete his butt off on that end of the floor in the way that I had not seen from him in those first 4 seasons. And by the way, to pull up his stats for last season, for all this talk about it being such a down and depressing season, the dude averaged 26.3 points, 6.1 assists, 3.3 rebounds, shot 43.7% from the field, 33.7% from 3, only 27.5% from the corner. And yes, the efficiency splits are not quite up to the standard for what we've come to expect for Tyrese Maxey, but I do think the context is incredibly relevant to all these conversations. Now, a couple points that I want to get into here. I don't know what more sample size people need to see regarding Tyrese Maxey to be sold on the vision. For starters here, from a Sixers franchise history perspective, that there are only 4 players in history to average 26 or more points per game at 24 years or younger. That is Charles Barkley, that is Allen Iverson, that is Joel Embiid, and that is Tyrese Maxey. That is the end of the list. And let's also not forget that less than 2 years ago, we were talking about Tyrese Maxey averaging 30 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds on 40% three-point shooting, 60% true shooting percentage against the New York Knicks in the second round of the playoffs. Yes, that happened. Yes, he hit big game-tying shots with the game on the line. He was the dude that stepped up and into center stage, taking over for the moments that Joel Embiid physically could not. That's who Tyrese Maxey is, and that's who Tyrese Maxey is going to be in this league for a long time. Now, I did love this kind of cold takes conversation. Shout out to my guy, Daniel, on Twitter here, who tweets out 2 very cold takes. Number 1, Tyrese Maxey did not have a bad year last year. You just thought he was literal Steph, and you were wrong. Yeah, I think the expectations were far too high, and he made the most of the moment. There was a stretch mid-season where he was terrific for this Sixers team. Number two, Jared McCain has played 23 games in his career, and you all need to pump the brakes because you're doing the same thing you did with Maxey. Now, as far as this conversation overall, the Maxey and McCain thing are somewhat correlated. For starters, that is like the next generation of the Sixers here. And obviously, they have over $100 million per year committed to Paul George and Joel Embiid for the next 3 seasons. That is the reality. That is what is on the books. That is the commitments they've already made. Quietly, behind the scenes, this youth movement has sort of already happened here in Philadelphia. That Jared McCain is going to be a real part of this team for the foreseeable future, assuming he steps back on the floor. Tyrese Maxey, I cannot explain in any deeper context how much the organization believes in him. That's going to be the first thing that you hear anytime you talk to anyone within the Sixers organization, that he just gets it from the standpoint. Let's not forget that this time a year ago, before signing his max contract that he earned every penny of, they were putting on a literal museum of why Tyrese Maxey belongs here in Philadelphia forever. That is how he's viewed internally, and rightfully so. Now, beyond those two, they traded for 24-year-old Quentin Grimes at the trade deadline and have been quite expressive on their desire to retain him. They drafted a Dembona. Justin Edwards has carved out a clear pathway for himself in the NBA moving forward, that there is sort of this youth movement, this next generation of Sixers basketball. So with that being the case, why are we rushing Tyrese Maxey at this age, at this early stage of his career, that he's got a decade plus of basketball still to be played, and I do hope it happens here in Philadelphia. That the list of players that Tyrese Maxey is better than is a lot shorter than a lot of people want to acknowledge. Desmond Bane, who just pulled in that ridiculous trade haul back there, Tyrese Maxey's better than him, straight up there. And they're close. They're in the same vicinity here. But the other thing that I would like to point out about this conversation overall is we can't exactly speak about trades in just this pure value standpoint, the way I think a lot of people sometimes do. Is this a ton of value? Is this great value from Memphis' perspective for you to return on Desmond Bane? Yes, absolutely. But why is that the case there? Because the Orlando Magic had a clear need, and Desmond Bane was the guy that could fill it. That Desmond Bane is 26 years old. He has 4 years remaining on his contract. And what does he do but shoot the lights out of the basketball? That he's made the third most three-point attempts of anybody in the NBA since he came in the NBA, came into the league there. That he's a 40% plus three-point shooter, close to 45% on catch-and-shoot opportunities. And what did the Orlando Magic need? The Orlando Magic shot 31.7% from three as a team last year. Not only was that the worst record in the league from beyond the three-point arc, it was the worst record of any team in the NBA since the 2015-2016 Lakers, who shot 31.7% from three. Oh yeah, and by the way, when the Magic did get to the playoffs and have a 5-game series with the Boston Celtics, they shot 28.6% from beyond the three-point arc collectively here. They have their franchise cornerstones in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner there. What they don't have is guys to capitalize off the looks they create, with both of those players being at their best when they're attacking the basket and creating for others. This was a supply and demand conversation, that the Magic had a clear need for the type of player that Desmond Bane is, and the Grizzlies were willing to cash out with that type of trade. When bringing this and relating it to Tyrese Maxey, it's going to take a specific team. Mikal Bridges, another example of that. From a pure talent perspective, he is not worth 5 first-round picks. There is no ifs, ands, buts, or debates about that. But the Knicks thought he was the missing piece, that they believed he could take their team to another level, and you can't really be, beggars can't be choosers in the context of making these trades. There is not infinite options on the trade market. There are limited guys and players that you can upgrade from, and that's sort of the whole situation here. To tie this back to the Sixers, I just don't see any world for the short term or long term in which the Sixers moving on from Tyrese Maxey improves the organizational outlook. I just don't think it exists. In the short term, you're going to get worse. As much of a Jared McCain believer that I am, and I've said the hot take several times on here, that I do see a world in which Jared McCain could end up being the better overall basketball player in its entirety, that's many years away. The Tyrese Maxey, we've seen him progress year in and year out, and to kind of pull up these stats on a year-by-year basis, let's not forget that this dude averaged 26.3 points per game last season. He was an all-star the year before. We've seen him grow as a playmaker. We've seen him improve his three-point percentage notably. Look at that, from year 1 to year 2, going from 30.1% from three to 42.7% in his second season. This dude puts the work in, checks every single box for what the organization is looking for, and we should be completely satisfied with that. So I understand everyone out there searching for the best possible way to maximize this Sixers organization, to thinking through and turning over every stone to see what the true options are. But Tyrese Maxey is a part of the solution. He is not a part of the problem here in Philadelphia, and I don't want to hear another word. I don't want to see another mock trade with this guy in it. He does not deserve it, and the Sixers should not be exploring this whatsoever. He is a part of the short term, this team contending, and he's a part of the long term vision for the post Joel Embiid life. Right now, I don't want to hear anything about Tyrese Maxey suiting up in another jersey, and it's been a little too loud with all that kind of noise. So did have to get on here and sort of explain that, get fired up about it, because it does make me frustrated here. I can't believe some of the comments, tweets, and mock trades that we are seeing. Tyrese Maxey is a top 30 player in the NBA at less than 25 years old. You don't move on from a guy like that, particularly in a spot with so much future uncertainty with this Sixers team. So whether this is in the long-term vision or short-term contention, Tyrese Maxey should be here to stay and is going to be a part of solution in either of those directions here. But do want to hear from you guys in the comments. Make the case if you disagree with me. Hit me with your top reasons why you would consider it. Is it simply a value thing? What am I missing if you see another direction there? But drop those comments below. And one more time, do want to remind you guys, as always, to make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. At this point in time, 31.5% of you guys watching the video, that's all that's joined the party here on Sixers Digest. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button if you have not already. Drop a like on this video here, your comments below. I'll be back talking to you next time. Peace.